Hi, everybody. Today on the Performance Prescription Lab podcast, Jess and I are super excited to have our first guest, friend and colleague, Mikko Lemettilä, an anti-doping expert from Finland. Welcome, Mikko. Our listeners
Thank
will
you,
get to know
Nilhan.
you shortly. Today, with Mikko's expertise and vast experience, we will not just be exploring definitions or statistics about anti-doping, but we are unraveling real stories behind them, hearing from an expert and advocate who is pushing to protect clean sports. We will be exploring anti-doping strategies for elite professional sports versus recreational sports. We will understand the motives behind why people use doping substances. Mikko will explain the Finnish model in doping prevention as a good practice. We will be sharing practical ways for athletes and healthcare professionals to fight doping. And finally, we will talk about the future outlook in the anti-doping scene. I'm going to hand over to my co-host, Jess.
Hello, Mikko. We're so happy to have you. And I just want to add like a super quick note that I thought was really exciting, and that we are three professionals experienced in the field of anti-doping and clean sport, but we're hailing from all different corners of the globe, so we can give a true global perspective. And we're joining forces on this podcast to kind of spread the word about anti-doping. And so I want to say it's kind of like the United Nations of anti-doping coming together to unravel the complexities of substance use in recreational sport. We've got perspectives from Turkey and Cyprus, Finland, and the United States. So we're truly bringing a global lens to this dynamic conversation today. So prepare for a riveting exchange of insights, experiences, and strategies as we embark on this international journey through anti-doping and clean sport world in the recreational athletes. This is the Performance Prescription Lab podcast, and we welcome Mikko. So Mikko, I think let's start this off with, can you give us a little background about yourself, like what you do and kind of who you are, where you're from?
Absolutely, Jess. and thanks for inviting me for your podcast. I'm really honored about that. About me, I'm a specialist in anti-doping in recreational sports. I work in an organization called A-Clinic Foundation, and more specifically in a project called Doping and the Clean Exercise Commitment. Outside of that, I'm also a master's student in pharmaceutical research, development, and safety. And as a side job, I'm also an outdoor cross-training coach and an enthusiastic rock climber. So many roles I'd like to explore.
Roles. Yes, you can bring a lot of perspective to working with athletes or talking to athletes, and I love that. I know when I heard your story of how you got into the field of drug and sport, I found it really fascinating of your background. Can you give us a little more insight into kind of your journey into the field of drugs and sport?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best thing is to just summarize my recent 10 years or more. So it's certainly been interesting, and I've been kind of lost here and there, grasping anti-doping information also from here and there. But a short summary. At high school, I was certain that I would pursue a degree in psychology. Eventually, I didn't, because I would, like every Finnish man, they go to the army, and the army kind of mixed my thoughts up, but maybe in a positive manner, I think. So I got interested in sports and exercise back then, and wanted to combine it with helping people. So I applied for physical therapy and eventually graduated from there. But then I wanted, more opportunities to progress in my career. So I started studying natural sciences more. So I kind of read like the basics of natural sciences, biology, physics, chemistry, because I didn't do that in high school. And after that, I applied for pharmacy studies. And the fun thing is that I did the bachelor's thesis in anti-doping counseling in pharmacies. And it eventually led to 2 scientific publications. But then I shifted to Master of Sports and Exercise Medicine, and then back to Master of Pharmacy Studies. So it's been an interesting journey.
I do feel like you kind of actually did get back to your high school dream of doing psychology in a way, because as we know, and we'll dive into in the episode, anti-doping does have a lot of underlying psychology and why are people choosing this. So maybe you really actually made your dream come true as a kid.
Exactly.
In a roundabout way.
I thought about the same thing.
It's always neat to look back and you're like, all these experiences molded me, but I kind of still ended up the same way, just not what I dreamed of.
Yeah.
So can you share us a little bit about, in this journey that you had, what inspired you to really focus on anti-doping, and especially your little area that, well, not little, your big area of recreational athletes over per se, like professional? What got you into that?
Yeah. I think you and the listeners would like some sort of, really goal-oriented response, but I actually can't give that to you. So for me, it was by coincidence and luck, I guess,
Okay.
and because of my life events at the time. I was working as a physical therapist with geriatric patients, and then also studying pharmacy at the same time. It eventually kind of got me burned out from this combination, and I also had some problems in my social life and personal problems as well, like unhealthy relationship, not knowing how to take care of myself, and set boundaries. All these kind of issues I think many of us face. But during that year, I made some changes to my life and was applying for this new job I saw, and it was a clean exercise ambassador. And I got selected to that. And my job description was to promote clean exercise, the clean exercise commitment I'm currently working with, and get the fitness industry to cooperate and sign our anti-doping agreement.
Very, very interesting. I love the fact that your journey is not this like particularly linear. You knew what you were doing, you did this. I think that resonates with so many people, and so many people understand that feeling of like, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, or I think I'm doing this, and looking at, maybe you don't live this perfect life. Like all of us struggle with something, whether that be, too much exercise, not enough exercise, overeating, drinking, unhealthy relationships. So I think, and that all speaks into addiction as a bigger scene that we will get into a little bit. So
yes, if I can add to that, I think I have had my fair share in performance pressures as well. And for example, exploring the roles of a man, a student, worker, a friend, or a companion in a relationship. And I think these same performance pressures are also the one reason for doping use in recreational sports, or related, body image or appearance pressures or issues with everyone. So
yeah. And I think that takes us into our topic on, let's dive into the anti-doping part.
Yeah, I'm really impressed of how you put some empathy from your own to your job, because it happened as a journey, and every step it's a part of yourself. You made some connections with what you are doing, and eventually it take you to this moment. And I can see that when you are able to have empathy towards what you are doing and with whom you are working with, then you also get satisfaction from what you do. But it's a journey, and we are really excited to get to know you and follow your journey in the next years to come. I think these kind of connections we built within our countries, within our professions, it always opens a new door and to new possibilities. So let's follow how your journey, my journey, Jess's journey will continue after this encounter. Let's see 1 year later where we are. I'm sure it's gonna make some interesting topic there. So we are going to speak about recreational anti-doping in recreational sports, but in the world, I think the general population have always been witnessed high-profile doping scandals up until now. Names like Lance Armstrong, the infamous ball collapse and biogenesis case, along with the state-sponsored doping saga in Russia in Sochi Olympics, have been front and center in the global professional sports arena. I think most of the people have heard about this, but this is the professional context. We are going to shift our focus to a different area, anti-doping in recreational sports. That's where your expertise lies in. Recreational athletes, these individuals are driven by the same passions, dreams, societal expectations, which you explained a while ago, as professionals. Sometimes I also have athletes whom I work with. They are not professionals, but they compete or they train as a professional. So they have a similar pressure on them. And sometimes they find themselves navigating in a complex landscape where the desire to excel meets the harsh realities of performance pressures. And then sometimes where doping substances or methods come in. So Mikko, in our podcast, we usually love to start with a crash course. In every topic we cover, we try to give a 101 class to our listeners. And today you're going to be our instructor of the Anti-Doping and Recreational Sports 101 class. So welcome to our instructor. As a surprise to you. So let's start with the basics for our listeners. Then we'll deep dive into the different topics and good practices from different countries. But can we start with describing the difference between anti-doping strategies, difference between elite and professional sports versus recreational sports? What's the difference? Or is it the same?
and this 101 class is a huge responsibility. So thanks for that.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
Okay. So it's already a quite broad question in itself, but I try to answer the best way I can. And I think the primary differences are in the competitive activities, regulations, and the given resources in elite sports and compared to recreational sports. If we look at elite sports, it's mainly based on the regulations of World Anti-Doping Agency and World Anti-Doping Code. And this code also includes many standards like international standards for education, doping testing and control, and related therapeutic use exemptions. And then these WADA standards are usually followed by international sports federations, NATOs, national sports federations, and clubs. And I think this is a significant resource for organized sports to, conduct testing, implement education programs, research, performance enhancements, substances, and, include more substances on the prohibited list as well. And then, of course, these regulations also require athlete and maybe athlete support personnel to follow these rules as well. So they might be mandatory for education. And so they receive anti-doping rules of sports, list of banned substances and methods, and then receive education about the importance of fair play, like this value-based education. And then if the athlete doesn't obey by these rules, there are various sanctions he or she may face, including, of course, suspension, loss of medals or titles, and then damage to the reputation through media. Okay, let's go to recreational sports, because I think that's not that regulated, or at least it's not regulated by WADA, and it brings a lot of variation to anti-doping activities. For example, testing. Recreational athletes are rarely tested or not at all. For example, in Finland, they are not tested. And also about anti-doping education, I think it depends more on the school systems or healthcare, or then like professional choice of study track or career choices. And then, of course, your own interest and motivation to have anti-doping education. And then it also varies that if NATO's, national anti-doping agencies, or other third sector organizations have any public health initiatives, so they would focus, anti-doping education to this public. But so the point was that there's a lot of variation in the education. And also,
you can definitely see that.
And also I talked about the regulation and sanctions of athletes, because it doesn't apply for recreational athletes. What sanctions apply for recreational athletes are, for example, the country's legislation. So if the doping substance use is illegal, then he or she might face fines or jail time. Or then there would be some other community sanctions, such as if the gym has its own rules that you're not allowed to use doping substances here, so then the gym might ban, for example, the exercises from the facilities, but then he could transfer to another gym. So
Is this common?
please.
Is this common in Finland for a gym to have its own rules of anti-doping?
Some of the chains have anti-doping agreement in there.
Interesting. This is very interesting.
But I don't know, not all of them at least don't require, they don't ban the exerciser from the gym, even if they, and what we try to do through the clean exercise commitment as well, that we try to have them encounter the doping substance user, but rather than banning, they would offer help or support about this situation.
There is a similar approach in WADA for athletes, professional athletes who are using substances of abuse, such as ecstasy, cocaine, etc. If this is detected, these are banned in competition. And if these are detected in an athlete's substance, blood or urine sample, they get a fine, sanction. But if the athlete agrees to get some sort of a rehabilitation, then the sanction decreases. So it's a similar approach, if I understood correctly. In order to, it's to support. There is some sort of a regulation, but it's to support the athlete from helping the person to avoid using such substances.
Exactly. I think that's where we share a bit of common ground with the organized sports, because they also make statements about the substance of abuses and decrease the penalty.
I was going to say, I feel like it's super helpful to, like, I mean, all of us being athletes know that if you pull an athlete directly out of their sport, there's so much more going on with mental health, you're losing so many benefits. So if you can support the athlete through what they're going through and why they chose to use that banned substance, you're probably going to have a much better outcome than if you just strip them of everything that their identity, what they've known, what they've done, and been like, okay, now you have to figure it out. You've just added so many more layers of complexity to that healing process. So I love that at least both areas support athletes in that way, instead of just ripping them completely out of sport.
Yeah, I agree.
Mikko, from what you explained to me, I understand the main difference is regulation. So there is some sort of a volunteer approach to protecting athletes, recreational athletes, from substances, doping substances. So I understand there is a good program in Finland, and we are going to get into that. But I wanted to understand how common is the use of these substances, and mostly in recreational athletes, image and performance enhancing drugs, IPEDs, if I pronounce correctly, are very commonly used. So how common is the use? And can we also define what is IPEDs for our audience so they understand the context a little bit more?
Absolutely. I think it's important to define. If we talk about image and performance enhancing drugs, I think we can consider a diverse group of substances that people use, for example, to enhance physical appearance, performance, or social status, or maybe all of them. And well, I think these substances are usually associated with the non-competitive or competitive fitness and bodybuilding, but I want to address that they also are used in other populations as well to meet the needs of a society, like body image ideals or other social performance pressures, such as study or work-related pressures. So this is a group of various drugs, supplements, hormones. You asked how common, and this is also always a problem in the IPEDs research field to estimate the prevalence of the use. So it's due to the fact that regular exercises are not tested, so we don't receive any testing data. There are varying definitions on what is considered doping, because we don't have that specific prohibited list that WADA has. So what is actually considered doping? And so maybe that's why there's not also any standardized research method on estimating the prevalence. But still, there are some publications which estimate the lifetime prevalence. And for example, anabolic steroid use in general population is estimated to be around 1 to 5%. And in comparison, I can tell you about the Finnish prevalence. We get national data every 4 years from our National Institute of Health and Welfare Research on substance use in the public. and the recent publication was from last year, 2022, and from there, 1.3% of our 15 to 69-year-old population reported that they tried doping substances at some point in their life. So it is in line with the, the worldwide estimate.
Okay. Very interesting. Wow.
And this group who mentioned that they have tried, why are they using these substances? What are their motivation?
Ooh, multiple motivations.
Big question.
Big question.
Yeah.
Speaking about psychology and mental health, I think this is very important to understand why. Of course, body image, but then what's lying beneath it? How can we understand our athletes better?
Yes, well, if we compare to elite sports, usually why they use doping is because of victory and the fame that comes because of it. And this is not the case in recreational sports because you're not competing in anything. So maybe the motives are more, enhancing athletic performance for just performance reasons in your everyday life. You want to improve your physical appearance. You want faster recovery, maybe to meet some social pressures or expectations given by the society. What else?
Well, all types of stuff. I feel like there's,
yeah.
I mean, I know, having worked with like younger athletes and recreational, like you hear my friends did it, like you said, societal pressures. Like I feel like the list can be super long as to why they choose to use, and sometimes they may not know why. I think it's peer pressure.
Yeah.
There is this belief that everybody, like there is this placed belief, foundational belief that everybody uses doping. Why shouldn't I? Sometimes in professional sports, but in recreational sports as well. Or sometimes even professional athletes use. Why shouldn't I use? I hear this sometimes from the athletes around me.
I was going to say, and I feel like recreational, like that can be a diverse level of, I mean, we have some pretty elite recreational athletes around me. Like, I mean, you can have some they're still competing in something, maybe it's not drug tested, but they're competing maybe against themselves. But I have some I would say pretty elite recreational athletes that train probably as hard as some professionals do. So,
and you mentioned, for example, we know the answers to that, but I just wanted to give a little bit in-depth insight to the listeners. We spoke about, for example, anabolic steroids. These are very commonly used in recreational athletes. Are there other substances? How they are used? What's the practice? The purpose is really not to encourage anybody to use such substances, but it's to understand them.
Yeah, to understand
what things are used and how.
Yeah, to understand that it's a diverse group of, different substances. So anabolic steroids, of course, are the most common one that are used, and testosterone in itself. But then we can maybe consider a human growth hormone is used, erythropoietin by endurance athletes, stimulants for cognitive enhancement or as training boosters, then diuretics for weight loss, and different peptide hormones and growth factors, insulin, for example. And then there are also, because anabolic steroids are non-selective androgen receptor agonists, but we have also these substances called selective androgen receptor modulators called SARMs. That's also that's sometimes a trend in the doping recreational sports scene, that they are interested about these selective androgen receptor modulators.
It becomes a trend because of the less estrogenic side effects, right? If I know that correctly.
Because they think it will only target the muscles. But what we find from research, that what are marketed as SARMs are usually not SARMs. I think it's pretty complicated to develop SARMs.
Yeah.
So none of the current SARMs are not, for example, not used in any medical indication.
Right. So Have you seen, just out of curiosity, because I know I've seen it more, is people getting these? Are they buying them on the internet? I know there's a lot of like, especially like with the peptides and some of the growth hormones, you can buy them as like research products and have them shipped to your house and have no idea. I know I've never tried to like buy testosterone online, but I'm pretty sure you probably can. And some of the designer steroids and even the SARMs I've seen. And so are you seeing the people like selling them, or are they buying them on the internet, or do you have any insight into like how are people getting these or access to them?
Yes, thank you for addressing the online market already, because I think
Online.
that's a growing problem.
Yeah.
But what we use in our educational materials, we use this kind of national IPED info survey that's done in the UK. There's 677 participants doping substance users who have reported where do they get the IPEDs from. And in this study, the most common was from friend, and then after that dealer, then internet, then trainer, underground lab, then somebody bought abroad, or even prescribed by a doctor.
Okay.
But this is from 2016. So if we would go to this year, I think it has developed more towards online market, and especially, the dark web and Tor browser.
Yeah.
And this is where we also are. We follow the dark web. We try to see what are the trends in the hormones there. So, for example, a couple of years ago, we had our anonymous health counseling advertisement in one of the large drug sale sites before it got closed down by the police. And this was a record year for our health counseling for questions from users. So we actually, managed to, spread the message of our health counseling service while they were trying to buy these substances.
Oh, that's really interesting. So what can you kind of just a little bit more insight into our listeners as to what are the risks of the IPEDs? Like, why is this such a big deal to educate on it?
Well, it depends on the IPEDs, of course, what are the risks. But if we, for example, talk about anabolic steroids, which I said they were unselective androgen receptor modulators, which means they have a lot of systemic effects on our body. So we can talk about, cardiovascular risks, liver damage, hormonal imbalances. They have psychological effects to our endocrine system, and they cause joint and tendon damage, kidney damage.
So you don't want to mess with.
No. And many of them are well known, and it's a sad thing that this information is not spread, especially in social media. It's usually not, they are not promoting this.
I was going to say your friend and your trainer and your coach aren't giving you the side effect warning as to what might happen when you take them. You don't usually get that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they should be aware of the risks.
Yeah.
And I even didn't mention about the addiction and dependence side of anabolic steroids as well. Cause addiction to the users. It's 1/3, I think, who experience dependency on these substances. And then sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So because it's usually they are intramuscular injections, so there's also a risk of injections as well.
Yeah. A totally kind of random question out of that is like, do you see in the Finnish model, I guess specifically, do you see kids or younger athletes that use anabolic steroids leading to other addiction issues? Or is that even, I don't even know if it's been looked at as a longer term study. Is it like kind of like a gateway?
Oh, anabolic steroid.
Yeah.
Gateway as to other addictions.
Okay.
I think, in addiction research in general, these go hand in hand. So addiction can shift place.
Okay.
So if you have addiction traits in you, or the social environment has caused addiction in you, like addiction as a disease. So then the addiction can be quite anything.
Yeah. I kind of assumed that probably went hand in hand, but it's one of those kind of questions that you kind of wonder what is it leading towards at later in life?
Well, it's an interesting question because, I think doping, it has both behavioral addiction traits and substance addiction traits. So you can have the addiction to your body image, like eating disorder, body image disorder, or then you can have the actual addiction to the substance.
Yeah.
The
It's a tough
long-term
one.
use of anabolic steroids also cause mental health issues, anxiety, etc. So maybe through
Yes.
that also this may cause addiction to other substances of abuse at the same
Exactly.
time, because it's such an environment. But let's start focusing on the solutions now. We try to define the risks and the issue, underlying issue, but we really wanted to understand the Finnish model, which worked well. Recreational sports creates pressure on athletes in the pursuit of excellence. So that's why we wanted to understand what kind of global efforts there are fighting doping and promoting clean sports. Our focus is going to be on Finland today, but of course, throughout the discussion, Jess may drop in some ideas. I can bring some perspective from my countries. But Finland is a country renowned not only for the athletic success, but also the innovative approach into doping prevention. We are really lucky to have you as our guests. Finland has a commitment to fair play, also develop multiple different programs to spread awareness in the country and internationally through the influence that it has. And through you, Mikko, we've learned about several initiatives from Finland's A-Clinic Foundation, the organization that you're involved in, supporting the well-being of the individuals, but also the prevention. Also, the specific focus to Doping Linki is disseminating the crucial information about the risks and consequences, but also offers a helping hand to athletes to stay clean. So there is the harm reduction aspect, which we'll listen to from you in a while. And there is the clean exercise commitment, which is a collective dedication to clean and fair competition. So we just have 3 charming initiatives here, and we are really interested to hear more about them. It's a compelling example how a nation can unite to pursue clean sport. And again, we are just really, really lucky to have you today to hear from first-hand experience from you, Mikko, about the good practices in Finland about anti-doping. So I'll start with another big question. Can you tell us a little bit about the Finnish doping prevention model? What makes it so successful? And also the initiatives supporting that, the ones that you're involved, A-Clinic Foundation, Doping Linki, and the Clean Exercise Commitment. Can you tell us a little bit more about these initiatives?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for all the compliments on Finland, I think, and our models. We rarely hear that maybe. But absolutely, to give some context, so in Finland, anti-doping activities are divided to 2 organizations, and we work in cooperation, of course. So our national anti-doping agency, called Finnish Center for Integrity in Sports, is responsible for anti-doping activities in organized sports. So they actively participate in building an ethically sustainable sports culture, and it includes fair play and following the WADA regulations. But then the government has also put resources on the public health aspect, and we are responsible of that. So A-Clinic Foundation's Doping Linki and the Clean Exercise Commitment is responsible of the public health approach of in doping. And more about us, we are a team of 8 people currently, and 4 of us is working full-time. We have one person working with health counseling. He's also our team leader. Then we have an education specialist and a research manager. Then me, who's responsible of the Clean Exercise Commitment. And then we have 4 ambassadors currently, circling around the gyms here in Finland. Maybe about
that is great.
Oh,
Sorry for the interruption. It's great.
Don't worry.
It's a great resource allocated to these initiatives, and I think that may be one of the success factors of why this works very well. But how does the national organization and these initiatives collaborate together? How does the model work?
Yes, thanks. That's maybe what I was about to say as well. So our anti-doping activities include, for example, the evidence-based information we provide on our website. Then we offer anti-doping in recreational sports education for different professions. Then we have anti-doping communication, which I mostly think is through the clean exercise commitment. So we have an anti-doping agreement to fitness industry, to municipalities, to individual entrepreneurs like personal trainers, and we try to make them communicate clean sport values through that. And how our cooperation works with the Finns is we have a couple of success stories to share, I think, but maybe I share one. So we just did the sports pharmacy university education course. So, and it was a success from my opinion, because we managed to address both the organized sports and the recreational sports. So Finnish provided information about, prohibited list, therapeutic use exemption, all of that, which are important for pharmacists to know. And then we were more about, providing information about, the encountering of anabolic steroid use, or giving the cases of our health counseling, so the questions of what we face in our health counseling service.
Congratulations on the course.
That's awesome. Yay. Are you guys doing, is it something that's going to be done repeatedly, or how is that? What is the long-term plan for the course?
Yes, we will continue the cooperation next year. So, because this year it was, there were a lot of students participating. I think we had 120 pharmacy students, and the feedback was mostly positive. At the end of the course, we had this specialist lecture where the students could ask us questions about anything they had during the course, and we had also two cases for them to solve. So I think we will, continue with this model in the next year as well.
So this means we have to invite you again in the next year to tell us about this course. It's an official invitation, Mikko.
Thank you. Let's figure out the schedule.
Yes, it's already booked. Don't worry. We'll
in person, though. In person.
Yes, in person. Yes, I hope so.
You're welcome here, or then I would love to come to Florida or Cyprus.
Exactly. Let's see it in the place. What's exactly happening in Finland? So we would love that. But these initiatives and the course, I understand many eyes of many different perspectives in anti-doping. Your specialty is in recreational sports, but you can get different perspectives from different initiatives. You have ambassadors going around the gym, so lots of insights you're collecting. I wanted to hear from your experience about common concerns, challenges, or trends you observed in the anti-doping scene in Finland.
Yes, and I'm really, I hate to say this, but body image pressures of young people or adolescents, and this leading to the start of doping use too early in their age. I think they shouldn't start it off. Nobody should use anything, of course, but if you consider the young people, they shouldn't at least start that early. And this, I think, has been a common concern for us for many years already, but now I think it's more emphasized through social media because of the misinformation they provide there, and maybe a bit one-sided perspective of anabolic steroid use. And I think this is a very harmful information for the youth.
Are you guys seeing it going younger? Are you guys targeting primary schools or secondary schools, or are you targeting only gyms? Are you getting into the school system?
Actually, we did that just this year. It was a very great idea of one of our ambassadors, and then the ambassadors together, developed this educational material for mid-school and upper secondary school. So they have been now, going to schools and educating about doping, giving objective information of them, because that objective information is not found on social media. So they will bring the objective information there.
That's wonderful. I love that you guys have started to, you saw the trend happening in the gyms and have been able to pivot and be able to integrate into the school systems and target them younger. So hopefully they can have the education and the foundation younger and never get into that when they're in their like 20s or 30s.
I hope for that too. And I
Yeah.
think the trend in general in substance use is that the youth nowadays try more of different substances. And I think you see it also in the anabolic steroid use as well.
Yeah. And I feel like, as you've said it, and we've all know that social media plays such a big role now as they get younger and younger with social media and having accounts and just access to everything. And what they do see is all one-sided. Like, I use this and I'm now benching more or running faster or doing this, and not any of the side effects or what else those people are going through. So I love that you guys are covering the gamut of recreational sports and ages.
Yeah. And
So,
especially for the young people, the effects can be more long term. Like they might have not any normal hormonal system after they use.
very true. And that's something I think most 15, 19-year-olds think they're invincible and it's not going to ever happen to them. So they're like, oh, I can try it or I can use it. It's not going to cause any problems. And then down the road, you end up like, oh, wow, that happened when I was 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I know there's another initiative or company that you are involved in, and I think it's really interesting. And now hearing the story of your dream of a high school, Mikko wanting to do psychology, this is just amazing to see how it's kind of come together. And as we all know, a lot of us have started, and it rolls into addiction in mindfulness. So mindfulness is, especially, we've seen it done in athletes, and athletes start talking about doing mindfulness. We have it in everyday life, trying to help with stress and just all the hecticness of life. And so we're going to dive into a little bit about Mindful Muscles, which is a European supportive initiative on positive psychology methods to tackle the use of performance-enhancing drugs among recreational athletes. So can you talk to us a little bit about, one, what is mindfulness, and give us a bigger picture on Mindful Muscles?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll start by introducing the program.
Please.
Because it's an Erasmus Sport funded collaboration project, and our project is led by Sheffield Hallam University, and we have partner organizations from 7 different countries. So we have the UK, Greece, Estonia, Finland, Portugal, Serbia, and Netherlands. Yes.
Wow, congratulations.
Okay. And to talk more about the project, the way I see it, and we talked about the motives of doping use, and they being more like for aesthetic reasons. So you do training and exercise for aesthetic reasons, or to meet some sort of body image ideals, and we want to prevent those motives for exercise. So I think the main idea is for the recreational athlete to recognize his motives for exercise and possibly shift them towards a more sustainable approach.
Okay.
Meaning it would focus on individual strengths, like your mental strength, physical strength, social strengths, and then maybe this helps you to overcome these body image concerns and other related issues, or at least you're mindful of these issues you have, and then maybe through that mindfulness, you're able to adopt a more healthy and doping-free sports and exercise way of life. So
is this, it's like a program that somebody teaches to you? It's something an athlete can access? Like, how is this being like implemented? Are you teaching it to other people? Like, how would an athlete get this education?
Well, most of the questions I could say yes, but what we actually did in the project was that we developed these educational resources for athletes. So there we addressed mindfulness, acceptance, self-compassion, and character strengths, and made them as psychological exercises. And now we are implementing these workbooks to clean sport education, and the target is specifically amateur and grassroots sports.
Okay.
And yes, so these 4 workbooks, like I said, they include mindfulness, acceptance, self-compassion, character strength, and all. And then we also developed a relevant manual for practitioners, so they could, implement those workbooks to their daily practice as well. So then we talk about healthcare, mental health care workers, sports supervision, sports instructors. What else? Yeah.
That's awesome. So it definitely is it can be applied to a broad situation. Just a question, do you have a favorite mindfulness technique that you use? I'll put you on the spot.
That's a really funny question, because I hope I can say guitar playing, because for me it's been a meditation exercise since I was a teenager, just to sit around and play. But and then another Finnish response would be sauna, of course.
So if our listeners are interested in learning more about or accessing this program, can you kind of tell them how they could get access to this resource? Because it is available internationally, right?
Yes, it's available for everyone and free resources for everyone. And it's in the project website. It's Mindful Muscles website called mindfulmuscles.org. And you can access the workbooks there and also the practitioner's manual. I'm sorry, I can't say that there's going to be a guitar playing meditation exercise there, but there's gratitude journal, mindfulness, these audio exercises you can do.
Okay.
Are really beneficial. I've tried them as well, myself as well. So, it gives you a moment to stop and about your values and thoughts.
I love that it sounds like it gives you a lot of tools for your toolbox, is like how so that you can try them and see which one works for you, which one you like. That sounds really amazing as a resource. So we'll definitely make sure we put that in the show notes so that everyone can access that. So thank you for sharing us about this. I know it's a passion project for sure that you were super excited to be a part of.
Absolutely. And if I can add to that, now, it's the last year of the project. So we're now finishing a policy and practice recommendation report, and we will probably publish it by the early next year. So it involves guidelines for, exercises themselves, then healthcare professionals, sports supervision, anti-doping organizations, mental health and addiction care workers, how they can implement mindful muscles approach to their daily practice. So I think you will get some relevant information from that report as well.
Oh, I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I looked into the project resources as a healthcare professional, and I find it very practical, very easy, very down-to-earth suggestions. It's not rocket science. So congratulations on that project. And I agree with Jess. Your background, like you started from psychology and now you're an anti-doping expert. You merged these two in such an impactful project. So congratulations to you for that. And
like I said,
we heard,
pure luck.
Yeah. I mean, we have a saying, success is a marriage of luck, but being prepared. So I think you were also prepared. And then you had the luck. That. So let's not miss that part. You've been prepared. You've taken all these steps.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
We really get interesting insights from the Finnish model. Then we heard about the mindful muscles. We were always in the side of the healthcare professional when we were having this discussion. But now I would like to pivot the discussion into the dialogues with the athletes. So let's of course, athletes have been in the center of all of our conversation for now, but now let's try to get in the depth of having a dialogue, having a conversation with the recreational athletes, giving them the right messages, understanding their motives a little bit. So how can we start the dialogue? How can we educate recreational athletes? Is it the education you have been providing is about steroid education or about the other substances that are abused? We discussed the connection between the other substances. So really how the dialogue is started with the athletes, with the recreational athletes.
Yes. Okay. If we want to start the dialogue through education, we have a specific structure for our educational events. So we first start with a short introduction, from a mental health and addiction perspective, and then maybe address also the performance pressures given by our society. And then we address also all these psychological, social, and biological factors that can lead to mental health problems or addictive behaviors. We discuss exercise addiction and how it emerges how could it emerge. For example, exercise can be a problem of its own, or it can reflect through different body image or eating disorders. And also we address, like I said, the doping use, that it can have both aspects of this addiction, like substance use addiction or behavioral addiction. And after we kind of established this basis for our educational event, so we're outside of elite sports, we proceed to the doping use in recreational sports. So then we discuss the prevalence, most common doping substances used, motives for their use, adverse effects. And then what I said, we offer objective information, evidence-based information on this. And we even classify like the doping substances by their motives of use. For example, muscle growth, reducing adverse effects, weight loss, cognitive enhancement. And then after we provided this information for them, we start the at least we discuss all throughout the education, but then we have the actual discussion section where we market our health counseling service, raise awareness about that, and then we discuss how can we build a safe, supportive, doping-free exercise environment.
That's great. That's very comprehensive approach, step by step, systematic. You told me there is going to be a report published about mindful muscles, but generally also keeping it anonymous. Any results that you observed yourself from the initiatives, like the education projects? Have you seen any first-hand impact from the athletes you work with, or maybe more systematic, high-level result from your initiatives?
Well, of course, because we're working with grant money, we need to gather data from our educational event. So we gather feedback from all of our target groups. So we gather feedback from mid-school, upper secondary school, private fitness industry, sports industry, healthcare professionals, every those target groups that we educate. And in general, feedback is very positive and especially gives new information for the students, exercises, professionals. So this new information, what we are able to give, it's already a result in itself. And if we go in detail, we measure it with like Likert scale questions, such as my knowledge about doping in recreational sport has increased, or I can use what I have learned in my work or studies. And usually we get average score of 4 or more in our educational events.
Congratulations. That's a really good result. And we talked about the negative influence. Like the first thing you said was like, where do they access to these substances from other athletes? So if this influence is this strong, then can we also look at this from a different angle? How can recreational athletes play a role in promoting the culture of clean and fair sports, not only for themselves, but being a role model in their communities?
Great question.
I love that question. And the reason, I love that question because for a long time I have thought that the values of fair play should reflect into recreational sports as well, or the exercise environment, all the exercise environment we're participating in. So what does that mean? Like, what's fairness, ethics, respect, and fellowship? What is it in the exercise context? But we're of course not competing, so I think we need a different approach for that. And in this matter, I think we should try our best that the exercise gives positive experiences for everyone and supports healthy behavior. And this is where recreational athletes come to the role. And I think recreational athletes can be a role model on this matter. And maybe to put it more concretely, I think recreational athletes can, help individuals meet their next important goal for personal growth or mental health balance, help individuals go outside of their comfort zone, and, as a role model, helping creating that safe space to train these things. And I think exercise environment should always be a safe space to train these things and, develop your resilience. And hopefully it will also transfer to other parts of your life as well.
I agree. I mean, I can give a personal example as a recreational athlete. For example, I started going to the gym years ago to become fit, but then I realized the further benefits of exercising on my mental health, my general well-being, also socializing in an environment. So when you realize this kind of benefits that the sports bring to me, sometimes even like I don't have a fitness goal, but I just go because of the other benefits. I used to skip gym because I was not feeling good, but now I'm personally going to that gym, like purposefully, to the gym to feel better because it's a bad day. So if you try to share this perspective to people around you, I think people would try to see the benefits of exercise from a different angle, so they would have less pressure on themselves to look better, look fit, etc. So that's a very, very important message. Thank you for that.
I like the motives you said, because aren't they more sustainable?
Yeah,
motives you just stated.
For sure.
Yeah.
They are.
They are. Exercise.
And it's what people want, like long-term for their health. Like that's like everything you described. You want community, you want connection, you want health, you want mental health, resilience, everything. And I feel for so many years, and even I know as a kid, like everybody was like, oh, you go to the gym to lose weight. Like you go to the gym to look good. And it's like, there's so much more to it. And when I think you get past that dialogue of like, I have to go to the gym to lose weight or to be able to eat dessert tonight or whatever that is that society has told us, now becomes so much more impactful, and you feel so much more grateful for your body, I guess, as to what it can do and all the benefits that you're receiving, that you're like, oh, it changes your mindset, I think, in such a positive way.
Yeah, I have experienced similar thing. It gives me more ways to function,
But for sure. Yeah. So we've talked about the athlete, we've talked about the amazing programs that you're involved in and the initiatives. One thing that I think we need to also pivot and look at is educating the healthcare provider. And that may be the trainer, the pharmacist, the physician, the PT, the athletic trainer, whoever's involved in, even coaches that are involved in the care or working with athletes. And as a healthcare provider, we have the primary responsibility to safeguard, obviously, the health and well-being of our patient athletes. And for most of us, I know when I was in pharmacy school in the United States, we received little to very no education on anti-doping, clean sport. And I mean, I haven't gone through like a physical therapist program. They may receive slightly more. Physicians, I believe, are in the same boat, that they receive very little. And so I think it's a very sensitive topic and something that our healthcare system is missing. And so can you talk a little bit about why it's important that we as healthcare providers understand more, have more education on anti-doping?
Yeah, absolutely, because I share your, perspective on that. The healthcare professional don't get education on anti-doping, or they get very little. But so you could actually benefit from any kind of information, at least, you get a grasp of the whole overview, what means anti-doping, what doping means. But you can also look from the perspective of organized sports or recreational sports. So for example, in the healthcare, there will be events where an athlete is under doping control, and the healthcare professional should be aware of the prohibited list and the medicines that are included in this list. So medicines that include substances classified as doping agents by WADA. And Also, some healthcare professional might need to give guidance about the therapeutic use exemption protocol, or at least have learn how to guide to NATO's support services. If we talk about recreational sports, anabolic steroid users, they will face it in the healthcare, in the pharmacy. I've heard from my many colleagues that the steroid users come to pharmacy to seek help for maybe to buy needles or just, talk about use. So in the case of anabolic steroid users, pharmacists should have basic knowledge on how to seek help for the cessation of use, and also maybe develop some harm reduction strategies in their own pharmacies, for maybe considering needle exchange.
Yeah.
And at least, instruct the doping user to where to seek help. Like, for example, we instruct that you should at least, instruct to our health counseling service so they can, ask questions if they have anything in mind.
Yeah, no, I love that approach. I mean, I know I work in a community pharmacy, so we get the questions. They come to us, like, obviously being super accessible. I get the questions of like, can I take this? Can I take this? What about this? And like, if I had no idea, I mean, some of the athletes I know, because of being involved in sports and pharmacy, I know they're drug tested. And I'm like, wait a second, no, you can't take that. But other ones, some of them I don't think know to say something like, hey, I'm a drug tested athlete. Can I take this? Or bring it up. Their physicians like, take this medicine. And some of them don't understand like what's on the banned substance list. So
exactly. And it's not, medicines, it's also nutritional supplements you should be aware of. And whether they order the nutritional supplements, are they safe to use?
I think we could do a whole podcast on supplement safety. So if you're a healthcare provider and you have an athlete that you believe may be going down the path of abuse or misusing or considering it, how do you recommend having that conversation or starting the conversation of concern and giving them direction or guidance of where they may be able to get a resource?
Yes, and this
obviously
question
it depends on the country.
Yeah, but because this question I received from you beforehand, and I really would like to address this really good resource for every healthcare professional or pharmacist, and it's developed by Sydney North Health Network. So they developed this kind of GB quick reference guide to harm minimization, anabolic androgenic steroids, and other performance and image enhancing drugs. And I think all of us professionals should look in detail to that, because it has actual questions of starting the conversation, like motivational interview tips. And I have one listed here. It's, do you use or take anything to help with your workout or muscle gain? And then if you want to go more specific, can you tell me more about supplements you are using, including any use of pills, powders, injectables? So this might be a way that the user actually admits of using.
Okay. I think I feel like that's a very non-confrontational way of saying, I suspect you're using, and obviously you're going to get a wall put up and they're not going to trust you to move forward. But I think starting that discussion in a very, like you said, motivational and kind of building a rapport with them is going to be more impactful than just coming out and saying, hey, I'm concerned about your steroid use.
Yes, and then the healthcare professional can respond that I'm, just interested to see if I need to be aware of something when I do health counseling or, focus on your health-related issues.
Yeah. So
just to add, because there's then other interview techniques in the same guide.
Okay.
But if they admit of using, there's, then you might want more about the information about the history of use. So you could ask about the age of initiation, route of administration, reason why they're using, how long has it been that they're using, what kind of substances, all that. It's all listed in this.
Awesome.
GP. Yeah.
We'll definitely put the link in the notes so that people have access to it and can look through it. I think that's super impactful.
Yeah.
Is there a way that healthcare professionals can participate or contribute to like a doping-free environment in their communities? How would, if I'm a healthcare professional and I do believe in clean sport and want to promote it, how do I go about doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I know I've asked to talk to schools and talk to the kids, like the sports teams. Are there any other ways that you've seen healthcare professionals be involved in their communities?
Yeah, maybe I have a broader answer for this.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Like the public health aspect, but I think as professionals or recreational athletes or whoever, I think we should just engage, actively in promoting a more ethically sustainable environment, what we can do. And for example, our National Olympic Committee has a sustainability program, and it addresses, good governance, safe space and safe environment, equality and equal opportunity, environment and climate, anti-doping and fair play. So, to promote all these activities, so everyone would feel that they're exercising in a safe environment.
Yeah, I love that. I think maybe if you're like a healthcare professional and you're not quite sure, could you start with even also maybe working on like the dialogue that we had on changing the narrative of why health and exercise is beneficial in a broader sense of just not losing weight?
Exactly. So concretely speaking, you could, do an anti-doping campaign in your own community, to, promote those values.
Yeah.
But it's, I think it all centers to this sustainable exercise, ethically sustainable exercise.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of, or in Finland or anywhere, have you seen a lot of healthcare professionals using social media to promote clean sport or sustainable exercise? Have you seen it spread that way where people are on social media promoting it?
Yes, I've seen.
Okay.
Well, I mean, even addiction prevention, we have in our clinic, we had a doctor who's working with addiction prevention. So he's providing a lot of, information, like, which is easily understandable by the youth. So for substance prevention, and he has also had, content related to doping substances that you shouldn't start using, and they are actually really funny what he does. So
I'll have to check it out, because we've talked about social media being such a big impact. So I was just thinking that maybe that's a way, if somebody has a platform and wants to share it, you could find interesting ways to connect over social media too and spread.
I think that's a great idea, and then you should specifically target the youth,
Okay.
that kind of content that the youth likes to watch.
You're probably not going to see me making TikTok videos, sorry.
Well, you never know.
Making it fun is important, I think, because sometimes this is observed as regulation rule. It's a strict framework. So making it fun beyond just definitions or rules, I think this can help people to connect with them a little bit better, to I don't know, embody the clean sports aspect and just do exercise in a sustainable way.
Yeah, it can be anything, to just promote the joy of exercise on the positive experience.
Exactly.
What we discussed today, the friendship you have through exercise or the connecting to nature, whatever. I think it can be interesting content. It just needs to be fast-paced that the youth actually watch it.
Correct.
So, Mikko, we are now getting towards the end of our podcast show, but we want our audience to get to know you a little bit personally, because I think you explained your story, but there are Mikko beyond an anti-doping expert, and we wanted to get a little bit more about that. And you're a living testament to clean sports yourself as an athlete. So yes,
Okay.
I really would like to learn more about your sportive activities. But before jumping into that question, just to wrap up the overall anti-doping discussion, any favorite story or achievement from your anti-doping career that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yes, and thanks. I'm very flattered that you call me an athlete. It's the second time already. It's really hard to
You are.
You are.
You are. Everyone is an athlete actually in this. Jess is a weightlifter. I'm a kite surfer. You're a climber. Oops, I gave accidentally a hint, but
Spoiler.
anyway, we'll get into that. Spoiler.
Okay, but yeah, let's go to the my favorite story, because I maybe can't name one favorite story, but what I share with our organization is that our basic value is, encountering people and open communication with people. And this is what I value strongly. It doesn't have to be in the field of anti-doping. It can, in my everyday life. And I appreciate the little effects I have in people in my everyday life. And for example, it can be through coaching, my professional work, or just me as a friend. And concrete events would be, if I see someone finding joy from exercise or tries an exercise they've never tried it before and are successful on that makes me genuinely really happy. Or if I manage to create a safe space, I'm considered as a reliable person, and it leads to somebody opening up to me and maybe talking about their concern, and they find my listening helpful. That's when I also feel like I'm succeeding. But of course, because I'm doing anti-doping work, I've had cases where somebody was concerned about anti-doping rule violation. I could, calm him down, and that there's no concern. It's been years ago, and it doesn't matter. And somebody also reached out to me that they started to use, and I think I managed to prevent that as well. So of course,
that's great. I think you said you wanted to touch people's life through what you do, and this is another way to say it. So I think you achieved your goals, and that must be a really good feeling professionally. But outside of your professional life, what activities do you enjoy? We know, and I already gave a spoiler, but can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I maybe mentioned in the start of the podcast as well.
That's
I'm not
true.
sure, but
You did.
I'm a really enthusiastic rock climber, and I think it's my longest relationship I've had in anything. So over 10 years now, and I enjoy all kinds of climbing, bouldering, rope climbing, and now I even did my first mountaineering trip this year to Nepal, and that sure was the highlight of my year.
Oh my gracious.
Ascend this 6,100 meter mountain called Lopuche East. So, and the whole journey, the 3-week journey, it was really memorable experience.
Did you train for it? How long was the training, or like you have to be acclimated for the height?
Yeah, the acclimatation happens throughout the 3 weeks. So we gradually increase the elevation. And then I think the last day when we had the ascent day, it was 1,000 meters of elevation. So we stayed at around 5,300 meters. But yeah, I trained for it the whole year, but it was more because I wanted to train. We had the outdoor cross training firm I'm working with, they had this project, and then I participated in the training program and trained for 1 year for that.
Wow. Was it
and how
physically or more mentally challenging, do you think? Both?
I think it was a test piece for me, because for me, I saw that I have grown a lot. So I of course it was physically and mentally strenuous, but I still had something in store, even if it would continue further up. I had so that was maybe
beautiful
that I learned from it.
That's amazing. And how come you got involved in climbing in the first place?
That's a good question. I tried a variety of sports when I was young. I was more like a gamer, and I just tried to find some sort of exercise I would like to try. So I tried taekwondo, capoeira. I did jogging. hardest. And then when I studied physical therapy, they established the first bouldering gym in this region of Finland, in eastern Finland, called Lappeenranta. And I went for the opening day, and after that, I've been training 3 times a week. So,
Oh, wow.
so
That's a
it's just
passion.
about finding your own sport.
Yeah.
That's great. Love it.
So-
Thanks for sharing.
So on your, have you ever tried speed climbing? I see that isn't that in the Olympics? The
Yeah.
speed, have you tried it? And it looks impossible.
It's a whole different sport. It's like 100 meters of climbing that,
In like 2
requires,
seconds.
yeah, exactly. But
It's like,
I tried the actual route, because it's all the time it's the same route there.
oh, it is? Okay.
But nowhere near even less than 10 seconds. No. I think the first try was around a minute or something.
Oh, so you're not making a gold medal for that?
No. I will, of course, watch the Olympics.
Oh my God. When I watched that for the first time, I was like, it looks like Spider-Man, climbing up. It's like, boom. I'm like, that's it? It's crazy. I don't know how. That's an incredible sport. Climbing in general, I think, takes so much talent and finesse and strength that it's just one of those beautiful sports to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad it made it to the Olympics, and
super cool.
I'm looking forward to watch the games again.
So with Paris, as we just kind of alluded to, just around the corner, and obviously there will be stories, there'll be icons, there'll be names that we'll never forget. How do you think that anti-doping and the narrative of doping with the Olympics being here, do you think that will help promote it even in recreational athletes? What changes do you anticipate because of the Olympics being more always high profile, but I feel like more high profile this year?
Well, I sure hope for it that recreational sports gets more, highlight as well. But and even what I'm looking at the trends now, I think this public health focus, what we have discussed today as well, I think it has increased more in healthcare, in sports, in recreational sports as well. So but I hope that it will also have room in the Paris Games, talk about the doping, public health aspect of doping, and hopefully in the future this could lead to better healthcare services or support services for people who use doping and who might suffer simultaneously from mental health and addiction problems. So I hope there would be room for that as well.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any way for our listeners, if they wanted to stay up to date on developments or learn more about clean sport, how can they contribute? How can they be involved or find out more about it?
Yes, at least start by looking, educational opportunities that your country provides or the international opportunities you have. For example, I think Nilhan, or have you all graduated from the drugs in sport course?
Not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, yours.
I'm on it.
But okay, good job. So International Olympics Committee courses, such as the drugs in sports course, sports pharmacy course, and if your university offers any those kind of courses. Also, I always emphasize networking, the importance of networking, and we have a couple of networks everyone can join. So I think International Sports Pharmacy Network is for everyone to join, and then this network called Human Enhancement Drugs Network. It's for other healthcare professionals as well. So look into that if you want.
Beautiful. I love that. I think there's so much out there, and there's so much opportunity and growth, especially, as you said, in the public health aspect of clean sport and addiction. And I think, thankfully, the dialogue is starting to change, and it's starting to become more okay for people to talk about this, and which I love, so that it breaks some of that stigma around asking for help and what's going on, and making that dialogue a little easier to happen with a little bit less fear behind it.
Yeah.
So thank you for all your work that you have done and continue to do, and being a safe space for so many athletes and so many people.
Thanks
Thank
to
you,
you as
Mikko.
well.
We'll continue following your initiatives, your successes. We are glad that we made this connection, and through this podcast, through this show, more and more people are going to get to know healthcare professional, athletes, other professions in the sports arena. So we really hope that we are able to bring this message to them. And let's wrap up our podcast with 3 quick fire questions. This is new to us as well. You like to play. We love to play too. So let's finish.
New games.
Let's finish with a game. So
Okay.
you climbed all the way to Himalayas. If you ever go there again, which 3 pro athletes would be your companions climbing with you?
Oh, so this is a role model question. Sports idol question. Oh, damn.
Pick anyone. I mean, think about the challenges you faced. Who could make it more fun or easy for you?
Well, I've had I don't have many sports idols, but I have one as a youth. So it was a Formula 1 driver, our own Finnish Mikko Häkkinen. So I will bring him to the Himalayas if he would like to join. And then, of course, we have
he's a hero.
Like we already addressed, we have also athletes here. So I would bring Nilhan Usman and Jess will take me to the Himalayas as well.
Challenge accepted.
Let's go. Let's go.
We have a year.
Beautiful. I have a year to start training.
1 year training group.
You know, I live at sea level and we have no mountains around us, right?
Yeah. But you have such good roads to, do a road trip. So drive to Colorado and enjoy your mountains. I
love it.
I envy it. Yeah.
Beautiful. So next question would be, if you could live in the universe of any fictional character or book, movie, or TV show, what would it be?
Yeah, I can't answer anything else but Spider-Man. Like
Spider-Man.
Like you said, speed climbing looks like Spider-Man. But even if I did bouldering, rope climbing, I really would like to be Spider-Man. So the Marvel universe would be the answer.
I would say if you were Spider-Man, you would never fall. You could just shoot your spider web and catch yourself and go right back up.
Exactly.
I think technology now allows that. Like there is some adhesive products that they make costumes out of it. I'm not sure if you would be safe enough to climb on a, I don't know, skyscraper, but I think there is some technology around that. Look into that. You may create your own Marvel universe in Finland.
Nice.
I'll tell you.
Some skyscrapers.
But Finland has its own winter season, and it just got dark while we have been talking. It's getting darker here too, but I've seen that it has been dark for a while. How do you make the most out of the long winter season in Finland? Any favorite winter activities or traditions that we can learn more about Finland?
Well, yeah, I'm not a traditional Finnish man. I think many of us start, skiing and snowboarding when they're young. They have the possibility, but I started to snowboard just when in my 30s. So that's actually what I'm exploring now, and hopefully make it as a routine in my life during this winter as well. So snowboarding I love to do alongside with the climbing, of course, but now it's indoor climbing mostly. And but as you might know, Finns also love sauna, like I said before, and it's easy to combine sauna with winter swimming. So I do winter swimming as well.
Wow!
Actually, wait. Yeah, you swam in the winter indoors, right? Or frozen ponds.
Frozen ponds,
What?
You drill a hole and then you can go to
it's a Wim Hof challenge.
Yeah, and some people do it even without the sauna, and I think they're crazy, but maybe it builds character.
It builds character. Oh my gracious.
For sauna, I went before this podcast as well, because I was thinking that it might control my stage fright as well, calm down.
Here comes the meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds good. I mean, everyone has their own tradition. It sounds really fun. We have Finnish sauna as well. here. Like it's
Oh.
sometimes it's too challenging for me, but I know that it's very, very good for health, unless you have any specific condition. But these questions were really, really interesting to get to know you a little bit more. I really look forward to continuing our discussion. But thank you very much for explaining all of your work, your contributions, but also we saw the friend Mikko a little bit closer. So this was a really, really, really good podcast show for us.
Likewise, Nilhan. Jess, thanks for having me, and also keep up with the good work you are doing in the field of sports pharmacy and other fields as well.
Thank you. It's been truly a pleasure and fun to meet with you, Mikko. And we are absolutely honored for you to have been our very first guest on the Performance Prescription Lab podcast. So thank you. We'll send you a big trophy. Just imagine us giving you a trophy for our first podcast. Yeah,
I got it. And I'm honored.
Fresh water.
Fresh water. But
Cheers.
Cheers. I am confident that our listeners have entered into a new world and have been moved by your stories, your education, how you've advocated, and all the different lessons we can learn and the different resources you provided for athletes and healthcare providers. So thank you so much for all your insight and your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mikko. We are finishing this season on a high with our first guest. We are wrapping our first season, actually, our show Performance Prescription Lab podcast. Throughout our first season, we published 11 episodes. This is going to be the 11th. And we covered topics ranging from recovery to popular ergogenics such as creatine. And we just wanted to thank our listeners for being on the journey with us in our evidence-based science journey, giving them tools and opportunities to increase their performance and athletic health. And we are really grateful for our international audience. We can see which countries are listening, and we know we have someone from Finland. And oops, no finger pointing, but we have an audience from Finland, and we really appreciate for your support as well. We are doing this for helping people to access the evidence-based information, and we really appreciate having an international audience coming from all different countries. So thanks to all of our supporters and listeners. And we are already getting ready for the next season with the new topics, exciting guests for our second season. And again, thanks to our listeners, supporters for trusting us, becoming our companions in our podcast journey. So let's wrap up, Jess, with our traditional outro.
As sports pharmacists, our mission is to provide accurate and evidence-based information to optimize your health and performance. When it comes to your health and well-being choices, consult your physician or pharmacist, prioritize safety, and always make informed decisions. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to sharing more valuable scientific and actionable insight in our next season.
See you next season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.